Sorry, y'all. Modern world of technology. This is Stacy. We are loving my veteran. This is walking in my shoes this morning. Oh, people are killing me. So we're back live. Y'all pop back in on this one. I hope. I'm gonna bring Michelle on by phone because this is driving me crazy. We're gonna talk about the VA and some real issues that we're having with the VA. It won't let me do it, so I'm gonna put you on speakerphone and we can talk by phone on the live. All right.
Cool.
All right. So can y'all hear Michelle and I? We are loving my veteran, walking in my shoes. I have Michelle with me on the phone because
Good
I'm
morning.
I'm technology stupid. So
I know, modern world of technology.
we're gonna talk about the real world and what's going on as far as the VA. Again, let me go back and say I believe that the VA has a great system or a great offering of programs. I think the problem is there's a disconnect between the people who write the program and the administration and those of us who actually have to use it. So I think that is a big deal for us. Um, Yay, she says it sounds better. Good, good, good. Glad. All right, so Michelle's going to kind of share her story of the red tape, her and Damon's story. Y'all, if you give us a thumbs up to make sure you can hear Michelle, because I have her on my speakerphone, so we can do it. All right, Shell, go ahead, babe.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm excited to kind of share our story and look forward to hearing a lot of stories from everyone else, too. Can you guys hear me okay? Story. Okay. Give us a thumbs up. Oh, okay. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, you can't be having me on live and be talking at the same time.
I know. Hold on. I got to turn it off. My bad. I apologize.
We're going to get echo. So
There we go.
are you good, Michelle? So Michelle's going to tell her
I'm
story because I think her story is so typical of what's going on. All right, Michelle, go ahead with your story. Is that what
Oh, okay. A couple of months ago, my veteran, his PTSD unfortunately kind of got a little bigger than him, and he became suicidal. And at that point, he did reach out to me, which I'm very glad that he did. And what we did from there, I obviously took him directly to Cheyenne VA. We live in Colorado. The VA in Cheyenne's about an hour away from us here. And that's the one that he goes to for all of his care. So when we arrived there, they did the standard. They watched him, asked a lot of questions, posted a guard outside the door to maintain his safety and everyone's safety there. I guess that's just protocol as they do that.
It is.
Something.
Yeah.
What's that?
It is very much protocol.
Okay. That's something, that I had never experienced before, so that was new for me, but I understand why they have to do that. And what's really strange is they came in and they do their evaluations. Doctors kind of come in and out. They don't really do a whole lot in the first 4 or 5 hours you're there, I guess.
Right.
And the first thing they wanted to do is transport him via aircraft to another VA in Wyoming. And that was an absolute no. First of all, the aircraft is a trigger because he was a flight engineer. And so why they would want to put him on a plane and send him elsewhere, obviously that would have made him worse. We talked about that, with COVID and everything, take them somewhere strange and out of their element. He's actually been to that VA, but he had a horrible experience. So with that said, we absolutely and adamantly did not want him, and he also spoke up as well. He's not getting on a plane. That's not going to happen. So some conversation with the doctors up there. It was kind of bizarre because the ER doctor essentially told us that because he had a strong support system at home, that they felt okay, since we didn't want to put him on the aircraft and send him away. God knows what would have happened with that they felt safe sending him home with me with an aftercare plan. Well, obviously an aftercare plan is a hotline to the number, and they're like, good luck with that, and they send us home, which was fine. We weren't going to stay there. But having the ER doctor tell us we're not going to keep you here. You have a strong support system since you won't fly out to another facility for treatment. We want you to be able to trust us and come back in the event that this ever happens again. So therefore, we're going to send you home. You can only imagine if the situation, imagine if Damon was there by himself, and didn't have an advocate to speak up for him. So we came
Can
home.
I interrupt you, Michelle? But part of the
Absolutely,
reason
anytime.
you were the advocate that was there is because of Damon's physical disabilities. You are his caregiver, so you were able to be in the ER with him, which
Yes.
due to COVID, now a lot of us are not allowed to be there with our veterans. Your situation was unique in this, and you
Yes.
were blessed because of his physical condition. You were allowed back there with him. So I need to clear that up because
We were that's a really good point, and particularly with COVID this year.
because I think that you're right. What happens when they're there by themselves? Right.
Exactly. Like, what if they would have put him on that plane and taken him against his will? That would not have helped him in any way.
Well, and because at that point, when you go in and you say that you're suicidal and they deem you in that, by
Right.
law, depending on what state you're in, they have to hold you for, they can hold you up for so many hours. In Georgia, it's called a 1013. In Florida, it's a Baker Act.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you have no control once they deem you a danger to yourself or others. You have no voice as to where your care is. So had you not have been there, they would have put him on a plane, flown him somewhere else. You would have gotten the phone call later, and it would have triggered him worse because helicopters and planes are already his trigger. I just
Yes.
wanted to clear that up. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was absolutely, no, I'm really glad. Thanks for touching on that. We definitely needed to bring that up because that is part of the problem. And then they take them and then you're not able to talk to them on the phone, see them, and God knows what happens in some of those facilities too.
Yeah.
We all know, we've heard some nightmares.
I'll share those when you're done with your story, because
Sure. Well, so we came home from Cheyenne and just absolutely exhausted, just feeling defeated and kind of beat down. Like, what do we do now? Well, we came home and took him to a local hospital here about 1.5 miles from our home, a very reputable hospital. We knew he'd get the care that he needed there. And so we had to go there and start the process all over again. You go through all the new COVID tests, you go through all the new questions, the same thing. So they make these guys rinse and repeat over and over and over. And we knew there was a facility here that was reputable, that we knew had good things about as far as the intensive inpatient therapy programs. And we were blessed to be able to get him in that. And I know Stacy can talk a little bit about beds and how they can assign that. Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me give you a little history. Being a paramedic and an advocate and instrumental in Georgia and getting patients with PTSD and other psychological disorders the proper care. What everybody fails to understand is there's a thing called a bed board. And so just because you want your veteran to go to a certain facility, we have to know where those beds are. And I think you and I actually talked about that night that Damon got home, that you wanted him in a certain place. And I said, you need to call and see if they got a bed before
Right.
you even go to that ER, because once they're 1013, Baker, whatever you want, whatever it is in your state, once they're in that situation, they have to place them somewhere if they determine they're a detriment to their own health. And had there not have been a bed in that
Yes.
facility, he could have been sent at this point anywhere in Colorado,
Yes.
because that's how this works. So, and then you have the backside of the VA approving the bed. And,
Right.
and the only reason that in your case that they approved the bed where you are is because we already knew that there wasn't a bed around Cheyenne and they were going to have to go as far as Sheridan. So we already had that kind of piece of the information ahead of time that
Exactly.
we wouldn't have had you and I not have spoken and how I not have understood how placement goes in these facilities. So
Exactly. We were blessed with that that you had that knowledge, because a lot of people, I mean, obviously all of us going in there blindly, not knowing how this works, it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah. And I think what killed me with you and Damon and where things went with you and your veteran was after the crisis intervention, which is something else. And I've got you real quick. I'll talk about this real quick. So when you go to your local hospital or your VA hospital or whatever, and they determine that you're a risk to yourself or to others, they put you under this hold and they send you to a facility. And we tend to think that it's like a long-term facility, and that's not true. That's not the case. Okay? They send you to crisis stabilization. So that is usually somewhere between 3 and 14 days. That's where they give you medication and they stabilize you, and then they can put you in a long-term program if you need to be. But that is a very short-term fix.
Yes.
Crisis stabilization is a very short-term fix. So go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, that's a vital point. That's so true. And they don't, they think they don't come home fixed. A lot of people think that they go to the treatment and they go through the motions and they come home and they're okay. This is definitely a process.
Right, and after yours got done, right? Mm-hmm. They had set up things that needed to happen, which took forever. I think that's where.
It took it about 5 weeks to get into the intensive outpatient programs and the groups and the intensive therapy that's needed moving forward, because at this point, he still to this day is considered high suicide risk.
Yeah. And so, here you have this high suicide risk, and you're phone calling them.
Yes, exactly. So we're doing telehealth appointments.
Yeah.
Which I realize it's COVID, and the VA is only staffed at, 25% roughly, I think?
Yeah, well, that's actually a CDC guideline. I did a little research into that before we did this. That's actually a CDC guideline that they can only see 25% of the patients physically live.
Right.
And so the other 75% are being sent out to telemed and other stuff. Yeah.
Right. Well, we went, do you want me to kind of step back from there and talk about the hospital where they took him from there and move forward, or?
Well,
am I getting too?
Now I think where we're gonna talk more, you and I, Zoom, and actually record it because it'll work.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of leave Michelle on here so she can kind of hear what we're going. But what we're gonna do, because I think this story is so intense and there's so much more to it, I'm gonna Zoom with Michelle where we can record it and put it on the website and on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But y'all, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the red tape crap that we're going through. And I'm just going to be honest, it's crap. I got a message. This was probably the most heartbreaking story of all the stories I've heard. It was late last night. Carl and I were laying down, and it was late last night.
Sorry,
and
be right back.
Where are you going? Oh, I know where you're going. It was late last night, and his messenger went off, which was actually a message for me. And he says, I know it's for you because, I'm not that popular. That was his joke. But it was from a Miss Lewis who wanted to share her husband's story. So her husband is 35 years old. Can I repeat that? 35. And he had some emergency stuff going on. And he went to the local ER where they determined it was heart related. Okay, because when you call 911, you go wherever. It was heart related.
Right.
So they discharged him and told him he needed to follow up with cardiology. They went to the VA to follow up with cardiology. The VA didn't even get to cardiology. They said, oh, it's indigestion. We're going to give you some Xanax. Some Zantac. So they gave him Zantac and sent him home. He went into this again, went to the local ER, called 911. Obviously, they're going to take you to the closest facility. They went to the ER there. They said, you are having a serious heart issue and we need to transfer you to Houston. The VA denied the transfer to Houston and would deny inpatient there, and he had to go back to the VA. So he is now deemed critical, serious heart problem going on. They go back to the VA. The VA says, we have to do the standard cardiac workup on him, and it will take 3 to 4 months. And if we find there's a problem, we'll transfer you to Memphis. Okay, now these people live in El Paso, Texas, and they're going to transfer them to Memphis, Tennessee. COVID's going on, so he would have to go by himself. So his wife, who is, thank God, there's an advocate. I think that's where we're just blessed. Same thing with you and your veteran story, right? You were his advocate and you were blessed. She immediately leaves, calls the Wounded Warrior Foundation. They have them on a plane to Houston that day, where they realize his heart is only working at 88%. Is 88%, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. His heart is that of an 88-year-old. He is in serious heart failure. He is flying now back and forth for treatment that Wounded Warrior is paying for, and he is on a heart transplant list.
Wow.
So had she not been the advocate that stood up for him, he'd be dead. Now, I will say this from the healthcare side. Y'all know I'm a paramedic. I've seen the healthcare side. I've watched it happen. You do, when you're usually referred out, they do a new workup. I mean, I did it when I got sick. Mayo wanted a whole new workup. I get it. But if they got there and realized it was critical and they had that lab work, which they had, and they deemed it was critical, why didn't they transfer him? And had she not have been the advocate, had she not have had enough knowledge, he'd be dead. This woman would have a flag and not her husband. And that, I think, is what is infuriating me with trying to get care. And the stories just keep coming. They're a nightmare. And my other biggest thing, which is kind of how I got way started in veteran advocacy long before I met my veteran, was on the streets of Savannah. These homeless veterans are on the streets of Savannah. Now, I read right off of the VA's website. I agree. They have a great program to try to get the homeless off the streets. There's a lot of them. Here's your problem in Savannah. One, there's no hospital, so you're using a clinic. The clinic is on one side of town. Your homeless population is on the other. So that's the first one. Two, the VA, because they can't pick up medication at the clinic, it has to come through the pharmacy. It is mailed. It can't be mailed to a P.O. box. It can't be mailed to a homeless shelter. So here you got these guys, women, there are women out there too, that are not getting the medication because they have to be mailed to them. So they're not getting medication. So they're calling 911. We're going and picking them up. Or they're flagging down a police officer or whatever. We're going and picking them up because most of them don't have phones, or somebody else is calling for them. We're taking them to the ER, where they are getting emergency stabilization, because that's all an emergency room has to do. They call the VA to get them placed somewhere, and the VA says, we're not deeming it urgent. They can come schedule a follow-up appointment, and they can call us and do that. No phone, no transportation, and you're going to wait for a place to go. This is insane. We're watching and we're watching them get delayed and die. And yeah, and I know you see this because you're in and out of the VA so much with your veteran, and you're watching the red tape these people go through. It's crazy.
It is.
I had a girl yesterday and got her story. This is insane. They lived in Minnesota. Her veteran's 100% permanent and total disabled. They worked through the caregiver program. They were on a tier 2 stipend. They moved to Maine to be closer to family to help. And they had just gotten approval on the tier 2, on the renewal on tier 2 stipend. They moved to Maine. They had to change the main VA that he was being seen at. They looked at his records. They took away the tier 2 stipend for her and said, we don't have the funding for that. We'll do it for families of amputees and of the severely aged. So she was approved. What happened to him between Chicago and Maine that changed his need for care, and she lost it all? I mean, that's where I have issues. And I think we all deal with these issues. They're horrible. It's nuts. You know, I don't even know what else to say. It's insane what we go through. So we decided, Michelle and I have decided, that we're taking this story to DC. When I posted a question on a group, or multiple groups, what has been your experience with the VA? I got some interesting stuff. I have a veteran's wife who, he had started drinking again. He had been sober. He had started drinking again. Due to the PTSD, he went out drinking. He left. They blew up. Obviously, we know it all happens. He left. He drank and drank every day. Then he did cocaine with it because he wanted to die. Called her. Police were involved. They knew she was on the way. They stayed till she got there. She got him. They went to the VA. They put him in the same hold situation that Damon was in. They evaluated it. He told them he had been through short term. He needed to be inpatient. And they said, you're not drunk enough. Sent him home. And now he is he's left again. He's wandering the streets drinking. And she's going from bar to bar to bar to try to find her husband.
Unbelievable.
That's a failure to the system.
Yes.
That is a failure of the system. And unfortunately, the stories are real. I mean, they're everywhere. Everywhere. And yeah, I can't even speak on this because I get so frustrated. So Michelle and I have decided we're taking this stories to DC. We want the emails, we want the letters, we want the stuff, because I've connected with a lot of the people in the veterans and the VA admin. I've read the veteran programs. You know, a lot of the stuff we talk about when I do research, the research and the good information comes right off the VA website. So I've researched it and I've done it. And I think their programs are in place. The problem is the disconnect between those of us that are trying to use the service,
yes,
and the services that are available. You know, the whole therapy thing, and I know about TELMED, and I get it, and I understand it, but it's not just the TELMED part. It's when you go in to speak to a therapist and a counselor, you're already dealing with veterans who don't trust. Okay, so we finally get them to the VA. We finally get them to start to trust. Then they're either told you need to wait, you're not sick enough, or you know, you don't matter enough. You've just spent 3 days locked down in a facility, but it's going to take us 5 to 6 weeks to get you somebody, and we're going to mail you papers in the mail to fill out like homework. Okay, and then we're going to call you. Insane. But they finally get to where they're going to trust. So they're finally going to go get a counselor at the VA. And I know that Jeremy, who is part of us, said if it was not for his counselor at the VA, he wouldn't be where he is today. But he had the same counselor, and she was a woman, and this was years ago, and she got him on the right path. But now, because of TELMED and whatever, you're just getting the next person in line. And you may or may not see the same therapist. And how are you keeping that trust relationship?
What I don't understand, you know, when you mentioned waiting for weeks, and I think it was roughly almost 5 weeks before mm-hmm. everything was put into place. Mm-hmm. And how do you just make them wait and put that on the caregiver, the spouse, mm-hmm. as you wait and you try to navigate that together?
Yeah, and the thing for you and your veteran is this: you don't work outside the home.
Right.
So what happens to the veteran that they send home with their caregiver, spouse, partner, whatever. And then you have to leave for 10 hours a day to go to work. So
Right.
do you go in pure panic mode for those 10 hours that they're going to go back to that place because your veteran's doctor said he is still a red flagged high risk? Am I correct?
Correct.
Even today. So, and I know because you and I talk how to, you go to the grocery store or like today, you've got to run to your daughter's, right?
Right.
That those 2 hours that you're not there, don't you have that fear? And then, and especially when you first came home, I know
Yes.
you weren't sleeping because you were looking for a side effect of this and a side effect of that. And what if he does this? So where's the support and the pressure? I mean, the pressure is unbelievable.
It's ridiculous, and just the medications that they send them home to have you titrate them up and to watch for the dangerous symptoms.
Yeah, I thought that was
Side
great.
effects.
I thought that was great. We don't quite exactly know what to prescribe him, and
Right.
rather than us keep him, which is what crisis intervention does and stabilization does, they normally keep them long enough. That's why it can be up to 14 days. They titrate the medication to therapeutic levels. Okay.
Nope, they sent a list home and had me do that. It's like, here you
But-
go, good luck.
Yeah, and the thing is that you don't know what to look for.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, you're a little more versed because of his MS and yours,
Right.
and you being such an active part of his care. But what happens if you send him home to somebody who doesn't understand any? A lot of people don't even understand the word titrate,
Right.
right? So if you're adjusting the dosage to get him to the right therapeutic level without a side effect, first of all, how do you know what therapeutic level is? Because you don't know how that drug is going to perform exactly.
I had to research and do all that myself, and talk to his mental health provider who prescribes the medication. And
In that special.
yeah,
So Michelle got her doctor degree in
I
the
did.
3 days that Damon was in intensive therapy. Okay, so she got it in the last 5 weeks. So we were
Okay.
talking to Dr. Michelle here because that's what's happening. And so that is so apparent that the system is so broken. And we're going to talk about this some more tomorrow and really bring more on tomorrow. But I think the other thing that I had yesterday, which was astounding to me, y'all ready for this? This is precious. So this veteran is messaging his counselor, okay, his therapist. And they're on the virtual stuff, right? And they're messaging, send messages about how you feel and how do you feel about treatment or whatever.
right.
All right, we all live with veterans. I assure you, not much that comes out of their mouth is G-rated. They drop a few F-bombs and a few other 4-letter words, right? I mean, it happens. I do it. I mean, my mouth is like a filter, but they
Yeah,
do
we
it,
do.
right? Okay, now this is going to the therapist, but in the typing part, there are certain words that cannot be used. It triggered as a flag. Somebody that was not his therapist read the messages and his file, and because he used profanity, kicked him out of the system. First of all, I would think that's a violation of HIPAA because you were not directly involved in his care or billing.
It is.
Okay, HIPAA is Health Information Privacy and Protection Act. We have to study it every year. We know what it is. I can share with you details as a medical provider. I can only share details about a patient, specific details, with another healthcare provider or somebody who is going to deal with their billing. And it has to be another healthcare provider that is directly involved in their care. So how you can get somebody to flag a 4-letter word that is not involved in that patient's care is a violation of his privacy and trust.
It is.
And we kick them out for using a 4-letter word.
Need to focus on the priorities, don't they?
I don't know about, they obviously have not had a conversation with a veteran because, or a veteran's caregiver, spouse, because at this point I'm so frustrated that F comes out of my word out a lot. So let me get back to this and wrap this up because we're running late and we're going to share so much more. We need the emailed stories. I have an audience of somebody who sits on the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee. I have an audience with her in the next week. I will be able to sit down and see her face to face with these stories. And I can't just go into her and say, this is what I've heard. I need to go in with the emailed stories that say, this is it. This is the breakdown in this system. And I might get kicked out because, you know, I don't have a filter, so the F word might be coming out. So I try to be politically correct, but I am so enraged at this point. And, you know, we are advocates. And the thing that sucks is, and I don't mean it in a bad way, all of you that are responding, all of you that are sending emails, all of you that are angry, all of you that are mad, you're your veterans advocate. But how many other veterans don't have advocates that are falling through this system and they're taking it at face value and saying the VA won't do anything?
Right. It's got to change.
Yeah,
it's got to change, and we can make that happen.
And we can. And I look at my ex-husband who, and he's a veteran, and he took it at face value. Like, we made too much money. We had separated, but they had to go back to the year before's tax return. And he made too much money for VA benefits, is what he was told. Well, he did for some of them. But health care is an affordable right that is always there no matter what. Okay? You get your health care no matter what as a veteran. So he just took it, I can't get treatment. His blood pressure was 220 over 130.
Good Lord.
Okay? And he took it that I can't get treatment. And he couldn't afford health care through his job. So he took it as I can't get treatment. And that's just kind of where he left it. And one day I was talking to him. We do still speak sometimes civilly. But we do still speak. And he said, you know, I said, go to the VA. And he said, I don't qualify. I said, yes, you do. But had I not have even told him that, how many veterans are taking this at face value and not going any further?
And obviously they don't want to go because of the care or lack thereof
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah.
receive.
And the feeling like you're a number and you're being pushed around. Yeah, and that you're not matter. So I am so grateful that we're bringing this to light. But Michelle and I are putting this out. We're taking this to the Senate. Y'all, I'm taking this to everybody. When we get this whole package together, not only is it going to the woman who sits on the Veterans Committee at the Senate, I am taking this to, I will be sending the package to Donald Trump. I'll be sending the package to everybody in Washington. And I don't care. Y'all might find me on the streets of DC passing things out. But I decided if we can do a 1,000,000-man march on DC, and 4 years ago we had women dressed as vaginas running up and down the streets of DC, you don't want a lot of pissed off veteran spouses in DC, but that's where we're going till somebody hears it, if that's what we got to do.
Preach it, sister.
Yeah. Advocates in the system are not being heard because we're pushed out, Roxana. We're told to shut our mouth. They don't listen to us even when the vet says it's okay. We had somebody else say that the veteran signed, this is my caregiver, they give me information. It was signed in front of the same doctor they're seeing, and the doctor still refuses to give her that information. I had one that was threatened that if you continue to come up here and do this, we will reevaluate his benefits and change his numbers.
Wow.
So if people can walk up and down the streets of DC looking like vaginas, we're going to walk up and down the streets, and you don't want a lot of pissed off veteran spouses and advocates and partners, because we will be a force to be reckoned with. And it's going to DC. They won't speak to you at all, even with the signatures. Christine, I need that in email. I want it written down. We've got to go there. Yeah, I have it. When the caregiver, this is what we go through. Don't tell me I work in healthcare. I watch this go on, and then they want to look at me like I'm stupid. Let me tell you something. I'm not. And I'm going to run my mouth. So we're going to get this together. Send us those emails, lovingmyveteran@gmail.com. We're going to talk about this a lot more tomorrow. Michelle, you and I are going to practice doing this. And I've got a thing today, but you need to, when you're back from your daughter's, call me and we will Zoom and record it in Zoom so we can post it to YouTube and
Absolutely.
to the website. Anybody else who has stories that they want to share one-on-one, send us a message because we can Zoom those, record those, and get them out there. The more that's out there, the more people see, the more people are going to get it. And that's
Yes.
where we are. So now that I've like been on my soapbox, I'm gonna there is no one to turn my. I'm telling you, this is what we're seeing. We need these answers in writing. We want to share the stories. I will one-on-one you. The more we get out, look, we'll be all over every news. I don't care. I don't care. They act like you're nuts. They act me like I'm nuts. They go and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And I just had to nicely remind the people up in Dublin, Georgia, that I do know what I was talking about because I happened to be picking up a patient from the Dublin VA when the gentleman killed himself in their parking lot because he was told he was okay.
Right.
And he went out and got in his truck with his gun and shot himself. I was there. So let me tell you, it's gonna stop. We gonna make it stop. That's what we are as a community. Now with some feisty, oh, my blood pressure's up, my heart's boiling.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah,
need.
it is so frustrating,
stories
Erica.
in.
So we're going to share a thing. Erica, can you do a one-on-one, a Zoom with me later today, you and Roxana? And what I may do is, how about we set up a bunch of us this afternoon as soon as Michelle gets back, and let's do a Zoom together where we're all talking about it. And
There you go.
we record it so we can post it out. So if you want to be in Zoom, let me know. I'm going to get off here because in 15 minutes, and I probably need this, I'm going to Behind the Surface podcast for a little prayer. And it is coffee, conversation, and collaboration. And we're going to pray about some things and talk about some things because I might need my blood pressure to come down. I can't drink anymore. So that's where we are. All right, y'all message me, Erica, you, Roxana, Michelle, anybody else who wants to be on. Let me know and we will set it up for this afternoon and we will get to Zooming and get to recording and we'll share this with God and
Yes.
everybody. Y'all have
Right.
a blessed day. This has been Walking in My Shoes. We are Loving My Veteran. We are their advocates, their support system. Michelle, we're going to practice getting you on because this is crazy. I'm sitting here like not running my mouth and somebody else's. It was weird. It was funny.
All right, we're good to go.
I love you. Tell your veteran thank you for letting us share his story because I know
I
it's
love
tough.
you. All right, everyone, take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all.